I really just said to the Lord, I don't want you in my life, actually. I was in a dark place and the Lord brought me out of that place. And He can do that for absolutely anybody and everybody. So I said, fine, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'll give it a go. I came from a very Catholic traditional family, if you like, and the faith was always a huge part of my life because of my parents, As I was getting older, I suppose, I was 16, 17, at that age, started drinking, girlfriends, all the rest of it. And once I got to college, I really just said to the Lord, I don't want you in my life, actually. I simply don't, because there's no place for you. I never stopped believing in God. I just didn't want to, live the life I probably felt He wanted me to live. I went down then to UCC to do a Master's in English Literature, and it was actually, I was out one night with some of my classmates and we were drinking away, and I remember going to the bathroom, looking in the mirror, and just looking back at me was somebody that was so unhappy. It was just one of those moments where I realised you're not happy. And I remember going home that night and I probably cried myself to sleep, I woke up the following morning just realising something had to change. So by the grace of God, I went to confession. I poured my heart out to Him, and I remember He just asking me, or telling me that there was Mass on immediately after the confessions if I'd like to stay for it. And it was at that Mass that my whole life changed. And I remember looking up, at the consecration and realising two things. And the first was that Jesus is real. And maybe I would have believed that in my head because we would have been taught it growing up. But I probably didn't accept it in my heart. But at that moment I did. And the second thing was that He absolutely adores me. That Jesus absolutely loves me for who I am, And I remember I was just wailing, crying inside in the church. And I just felt so loved for the first time in years, I think when I was in college I was seeking happiness and affirmation and love, but in all the wrong places. But and I just returned to my faith. I remember I just started going back to Mass and the sacraments, especially the sacrament of confession. And it was during that period of time, I also went on one or two pilgrimages. I remember going to San Giovanni Rotondo, the home of St. Padre Pio, and I felt called. I felt God was calling me to the priesthood. But I was just like, no, and I laughed it off. I said, no, forget about that now. So I'll practice my faith. I'll hopefully be a teacher, 3 months off every year. Life will be good. But it never went away, and it got even stronger, this desire. So I said, fine, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'll give it a go. It took me a while to accept even the fact that I was doing it, that I was going forward to the priesthood. I think there was some embarrassment there for a while. I wouldn't say there was moments where I doubted God was calling me. There were probably moments where I doubted my ability to do what I was asked to do or to fulfill that vocation. But again, I think that even that doubt, I had to work through it because I think I was relying too much on myself and not enough on Christ. Even looking back at my own journey, towards priesthood or my own life, in full so far, it's a story of hope. When I was in university, I was in a dark place and the Lord brought me out of that place. And He can do that for absolutely anybody and everybody. And in fact, He wants to, do that for so many people, because God will send people in our lives as well for that very purpose. God is always waiting for each and every one of us. He is our Good Samaritan.